Up front now, Gene Seroka, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, which is the busiest port in the United States. He's in Japan tonight, where Trump just threatened a 25% tariff on all Japanese imports to that American ally. So, Gene, I want to get to that situation in just a moment in Japan, where you are right now. But first, the Commerce Secretary is saying that these copper tariffs are likely going into effect on August 1st. And this is another 50% tariff on all copper imports. What's the impact of this?
Good evening, Erin. And as we've discussed before, from steel and aluminum tariffs to now copper, these metals go into everything from automobiles to buildings and homes and even plumbing in our houses. Raising tariffs in one sector will lead to higher prices in others, and yet just compounding the complexity of all this information for those in international and domestic transportation to take in.
So, despite the denial from Trump on the moving of the dates here, part of the issue is that the dates keep moving and that the tariffs themselves keep moving in level, right? It's a lot of uncertainty. The original, there had been a deadline on July 9th, and now that's August 1st. And as I mentioned, Forbes says that the overall count of changes in tariff policy is 28 since all of this began in the spring. So in that context, from what you are seeing in the port and what's being shipped in, how are businesses dealing with the fact that the goalpost here and the level itself of tariff is constantly shifting?
Erin, it's been bumpy. Our May numbers at the port were down 19% compared to April. When we release the June numbers next week, they'll be up 20% compared to May. So this stop-start because of information is really stressing the supply chain. And yet our dock workers, truckers, and so many others around the port have answered the bell each and every time. It's just hard to predict how you're going to be ready from a labor standpoint, land, machinery. And if you're making decisions 3 and 4 months out, like many importers are, it becomes that much more difficult.
And, when there had been some respite in one of those tariff shifts, perhaps that's what it helped with the increase in June numbers. If I heard you right, 20% that you're seeing for the month of June, that you just saw for the month of June. What are you seeing now? I mean, there was one point you and I talked this spring where orders for dock workers was down 50%. Right now, you're seeing that jump again in June. What are you seeing so far just in the beginning of July?
The volume will start to taper off in July because many folks brought in cargo leading up to this July 9 deadline and also tried to get some product in for the all-important year-end holidays on the retail side. If those orders aren't in, they likely won't be. And merchandisers will have to grapple with lower levels of inventory, fewer selections, and likely higher prices. But safe to say right now, from our forecasting with the Port Optimizer, volume begins to drop in the month of July when it should be picking up for that traditional season.
Yeah, so it is all confusing, and uncertainty can cause, feed upon itself, which is, in a sense, the main question about why you are where you are. You're in Japan right now, Gene. I don't know if you were sleeping. Well, you probably weren't because you're jet lagged, but flying in, what you were doing. But all of a sudden, the entire landscape of Japan changed, right? Trump is now threatening a 25% tariff on all Japanese goods coming into the United States, right? That's shifted in the past few hours. The Prime Minister of Japan has come out and called it deeply regrettable. So, I mean, do they believe it's really going to happen? What are you hearing from people there right now?
Yes, Erin, no one is being dismissive. And we got together here in Japan for a global port authorities meeting to talk about trade and infrastructure, knowing that this time would be so important to world trade. Also, while I'm here on the ground, starting in Osaka, I'm going to be assessing what Japan-based companies are telling me about what the next steps are. And what I'm hearing early hours now on the ground is that they're reprogramming their supply chains, trying to understand the scenarios if 25% sticks and what happens to manufacturing broadly. These companies, these iconic brands in Japan, have manufacturing facilities around the world. Now it's time to start moving levers on what makes sense most for them and their customers.
All right. Well, Gene, obviously how these meetings go in these next few days is, again, a seismic shift in the tariff ground underneath where you are right now. Thank you so much to Gene Seroka joining us from Osaka tonight.